how you doing? This is Kinesiology 231, annotated presentation for Chapter 1. This is presentation number 6, and this is specific to diabetes mellitus, and this is found on page 16 in your textbook. It's actually a pretty short little section outlining diabetes, but they do, much like everything else in this chapter, they do give some bullet points regarding data and the factors usually associated with diabetes mellitus are the urbanization, people getting out of doing more manual labor jobs and working in a more urbanized environment where they're on computers and they're not as active. You see the propensity or the average increase, if you will, in age of the general population, as well as the physical inactivity I just mentioned, poor diet, which leads to obesity. And what's been a common theme through this entire chapter, and you'll hear a little bit more about this over the next two sections, is lack of exercise. And it's lack of a wellness lifestyle. And it's everything we espouse as fitness professionals. And unfortunately, people just don't listen to it. So, diabetes itself is a major contributor towards different medical issues. Stroke, cancers, kidney failure, heart disease, cognitive ability is reduced. So it has a number of different negative effects. And really, it's one of those where if it's pre-diabetic condition or it's actually type 2, it's something that with a little bit of activity and some good diet, you can actually tamp down many of the risk indications for this disease. So with these three different types, you have pre-diabetes, type 1, type 2. And with pre-diabetes, it's not like you progress from pre to type 1 to type 2. Type 1 and 2 are two specifically different things, but pre-diabetes would be if your fasting glucose levels are above normal values, right? And I brought up a website over here for the CDC and a link for you to link out to what diabetes is, and it's a nice way to kind of augment your reading and supplement a few things. And what you'll see here is when you get into and start reading through, and you'll read through the different types of diabetes, you have HbA1c, and HbA1c itself is a measure of the levels of glycolated hemoglobin. And what I did also is I went out and I pulled down an article for you. It's out of the UK, but it's actually a really good article and it gives a nice overview of that. So when you look at prediabetes, it doesn't necessarily translate to type 1 or type 2 because the difference between these two is pretty pronounced, right? Type 1, it doesn't have a known cause and therefore it does not have a known cure, but the individual is dependent upon insulin interventions on a daily basis because their body just is not sufficiently producing or producing a sufficient enough amount. And as a result, there needs to be supplementation with insulin. With type 2, this is more common. You're talking 90 to 95% of the individuals who are diagnosed with diabetes have type 2, and this is the one that's more attributed to lifestyle management. So here's the thing. Does good lifestyle management help type 1? Absolutely. Can you have good lifestyle interventions and help individuals who come in who have type 1 diabetes? Absolutely, you can. Most of the people you're going to come across, though, in your practice, 90% who state they have diabetes, are going to be type 2, and you can help those people with a well thought out exercise program as well as some good nutritional advice. Again, like everything else, the book has a number of different studies that it presents for you to read through, and actually you can source out and find some of these studies if you're intellectually curious enough to do so. But the key component is, for two of these, for sure, right? Healthy nutrition and an increased physical activity level can help reduce the risk by as much as 67%. In another study, it lists regular physical activity with a weight loss program, moderate weight loss program, they note, will reduce the risk by a maximum of 58%. Oh, right on. And then they conversely state that too much body fat, elevated waist circumference, and high BMI increase the risk of type 2. So what they're saying on, and what I'm saying in the slide and consolidating within the book is, quite frankly, if you have good interventions in terms of movement as well as a good diet, you have a very good chance of minimizing the possibility of type 2 diabetes. Now, what is enough? What is an intervention? And in the book, it lists a couple studies yet again, um, where the effect of exercise is not well known specifically beyond its ability to control glucose levels in the blood. But what they recommend, though, what seems to work is you need a minimum of 150 minutes a week, which we've heard that before, of moderate to vigorous activity. And the workouts should include some flexibility and strength training and just reduce the time being sedentary. And we talked about this in previous presentations, whether it's walking, meetings, getting up and moving around on breaks at work, trying to do things while you're standing as opposed to seated, having a standing desk and not having a seated desk. Those are all things that can help. And they also note, they actually have a sidebar note here where they note a review of 5 different studies provided that the hazard of developing type 2 diabetes is double for those who have a high amount of sedentary time. So with clients who come in, yes, they're going to be working with you, and we'll stress this a bunch as we go through this class more and more and more. Your clients will come to meet with you 1 day a week, 2 days a week. I've had 5 days a week and 6 day a week clients, and you may have that as well in your practice, but that's a rarity. And when you have an entire week, what is your client doing outside of those 2, maybe 3 hours they're spending with you as a practitioner? And so you have to offer them guidance and suggestions and recommendations and ways to do their, put your fingers in quotes, homework, so they are not coming to you 3 days a week and everything else is sedentary. They have to be able to get up, move around, do other stuff, and really help supplement what it is, augment what it is you're doing with them in the fitness center. Because outside of those 2 to 3 hours a week and sleep, etc., there's a ton of other time that they have a chance to actually be up around and moving and be active and help minimize those risks. So to that end, this will be a common theme in terms of this chapter, and you've heard it already. You need to be active. You need to find ways to find interventions for your clients to be able to intervene not only from a nutritional level, but from an activities level that allows them the opportunity to be best positioned to be healthy. With that, signing off.